Glad to have everybody with us. We're going to go ahead and get started here in just a minute. I'm going to pull up the information. If you can log in and say, hey, I'm here, that allows me to get an idea. Appreciate everybody joining us here tonight. We got about an hour worth of discussion. Maybe it'll be a little bit less. It really kind of depends on how much you want to stay with me and get an idea of what we're looking at. It's total film review today. We are going to talk about a couple other things, but bottom line is we're going to be looking at film review and the pretty much the coach's feedback from Friday. If you can hear me, that's great. If you can't, please let me know. You can either send me a text, or you can, excuse me, or you can send me information on the YouTube site. I got both of them up, so I'm kind of paying attention to both as we go. Glad to have everybody with us. If I have never met you yet, I look forward to meeting you. And we're about to start week 1 here. Last week was definitely a life lesson. The old statement that Mike Tyson always stated, that everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, and in many ways there was a lot of different punches thrown. I don't think anything particular went into anybody's face, but we definitely had a lot of different things occur and happen. So to me, it's a plus for you all to be on there. Currently we have about 15 people joining. I'm going to go ahead and start because it is 8 o'clock, and hopefully other people will join us. Please log in and on your comments, or you can text me, or you can send me an email and say, hey, I was a part of the meeting, which is great to get started. Robert, glad to have you. Teddy, glad to have you. Maya, great. Josh, Robert, Spencer, Jonathan, Bobby Brandt, Bobby, and Tiffany, Raheem. Let's see who else kind of popped in here. Oh, Bob Gutierrez is going to be calling us. Hey, Bob, you're live here on our video. What can I do for you, Bob? Hey, Bob, how you doing? Yes, we are. Were you able to check your email and there's a YouTube link on that? Okay, and you'll be able to get on there from there. It's unlisted, so you can't just pop up on it, okay? All right, no problem. Hey, Coach Collins. Nope, we missed him. He'll have to call us back. I'm going to turn my phone down so nobody can hear us so we can get started, because it's going to be one of those nights. So call volume, media, ring volume. Everybody's going to take a little break here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, glad to have everybody with us. We're going to go ahead and get started. Sitting around 21 people. Once again, please log in and let me know that you logged in, and that's a wonderful thing all by itself. So the first thing to kind of go on the plate here is I did something that I've never done before. I turned around and said, hey, let's get a coach's feedback on what they thought our overall performance was. We filmed 35 games. Out of the 35 games, we had a total of 20 new employees. 10 were doing games all by themselves. 10 were doing end zones all by themselves. So it was interesting to get a feedback. I want to share it with you because the only way we can learn is from people's feedbacks. So I'm going to bring this over here and excuse me, mainly so you can necessarily see my expression. I'm going to go ahead and give you a picture in a picture action so you can have this. But I gave them the question of honest truth. Never done that before, so this is new for me. So I asked them questions of tight and wide, a grading scale of 1 to 5. 1 is horrible. What was that? 5, good and thanks. That was very curious to see. And then the end zone, excuse me, grading scale from horrible, what was that, to good and thanks, instant replay, and getting ready for this week, what do you need? So with that in mind, we're going to go look at their responses, because it's always nice. When you look at the individual, it's kind of interesting. Tight and wide, we had nobody say that was horrible. That's great. Hands down, thank you. We had a lot of 5s. We had 12 teams or 12 coaches respond that said, hey, it was awesome, thank you. 6 went and then I guess 4 teams thought they were in the middle of the road. This is a concern. End zone, and we're going to talk a little bit about end zones right now. 4 were horrible. What were you thinking? And 4 was okay, and 5 were great. Thank you. Now this is even more concerning. Instant replay, and that's why I don't sleep pretty much during football season. Is good old-fashioned instant replay. Only 4 were good and thank you. 4 were middle of the road. They could have seen better. 7 said this, and 6. Now, granted, all coaches haven't responded, and that's okay. And we get that overall involvement. So when we have this kind of be able to see individuals, I'm going to let you look at your individual responses. We've had 22 teams respond, which is great. Creekside, they were not happy with the end zone because they didn't get an end zone. That's part of life, especially in scrimmage games, but we'll do our best to get them an end zone later. They were unhappy with the instant replay, did not have end zone view, and sideline didn't work at all. So that's kind of sad to hear that come across. Number 2, Central Carrollton. They were not happy with the end zone. Central Carrollton played with Villa Rica. The reason for that is when we set up with the sun, and we didn't do a good job with getting that. They were okay middle of the road. This looks like it's going to be a hard coach to please. In the end zone, can we get just outside the box and zoom out as the play goes along? That would be great. He gave good feedback, even though he gave one, what was that, and horrible. He did give feedback, so that's appreciative for Central Carrollton. Bowden gave a 5 and a 4, which was great. And it says, well, we need extender for the film this week. The press box at Valwood is very low. Don't really want to get into that information. Not going to talk about that. Number 4 is Therrell. They gave 4s and 3s. They played on Thursday, or a couple actually, the following Friday, or the following last Friday, not even this Friday. I'm at Lakewood, so I'll need instant replay. I have the iPads and the tents and the TV. I need the end zone instant replay if it is possible. So that should be a lot of fun, to say the least. So we'll talk a little bit about the instant replay here in just a minute. Once again, glad to have the 25 people join in. It's great. Once again, I'm giving feedback from what coaches thought our performance was. Holy Innocents gave 5 across the boards, other than my broadcast. Number 6, Langston Hughes. They were happy with the filming, horrible with the instant replay. The coach called me right after the game and decided to wanted to tell me about how bad the experience was. And that's something I try not to get the coaches to do, but sometimes they do it. If you can hear me fine, give me a thumbs up. Make sure I can hear I can hear you. Thank you, Teddy. I appreciate that. McNair was happy, 5, 5, and 4. Wide, tight, and replay was happy. They didn't do end zone, so he just went ahead and gave me a 5 and patted me on the back. Whitewater was happy with the tight and wide and end zone. Was unhappy with the instant replay. That's something our instant replay did not work. They used the dual setting. Something that I will meet with my team that we're doing Whitewater so we can go through that overall issue. North Cobb, 5 and 5. Great job. I appreciate that effort across it. Our iPad, if we provided end zone camera filmer, can we get the instant replay with the iPad? Everybody wants the instant replay for the iPad. Nobody wants to pay for it. Good times indeed. Number 10, Eagles Landing High School. They were happy. This seems like a coach that doesn't want to give us 5s, even though he gave us 4s. I feel like we're in the Olympics. St. Pius, the wide is almost too wide. So kind of keep that in mind. I'd like to be as tight as possible and still have all 22 in the picture. Well, then he needs somebody to man it all by himself. The tight angle is good. Our replay system has some bugs. I will work with our filmer, Joey, to make sure everything's up and running this Friday. I even called out the name thinking that Joey is going to be the filmer. Good times. Very interesting to see that. Number 12, Lakeside. Lakeside only had a tight and wide, and he knocked it out with more players. That's what the coach asked for. We have nothing to do with that. Rockdale was not happy. They wanted an end zone. We don't have sideline replay at the Mundy's Mill. And it was mainly because the Rockdale coach didn't get back to us. And we were at the wrong location because he didn't respond. And I made a decision that it was at Rockdale, and it wasn't. So I'll do a better job from a communication perspective. Fayette County was middle of the road. and did not have any comments to make. So good job, the Fayette County versus Sandy Creek group. That the Fayette County coach thought 4 4s across the board, which is good. North Forsyth, 5s across the board. End zone was much better than last year. K-Rod Jelly, great job. The bad part is I think K-Rod does Holy Innocents. So they'll get K-Rod for just a minute, and then we'll move on. Union Grove, horrible. 4 tight and wide. End zones, horrible. What was that? And then they said instant relief was a 4, but they were not happy with our end zones. So we're going to work on that from the Union Grove perspective. 17, South Gwinnett. Could be South Cobb. Hard to see with OBV. Possibly Power for the sideline. I think it is South Cobb, not South Gwinnett. Haralson County. Now, Haralson County was a curveball. He was fine with the tight and wide. There were some changes he'd like to take place. Horrible, what was that? He had no problem with the end zone, but he was very upset with the instant replay, something I'll work on as well. These dual settings are going to make me older than need be. Lost all the replay after play 23. Need to back up film on the sideline copy. Wide copy needs to have DBs in them, meaning that our person that was filming tight and wide, Spencer, he kind of cut off the DBs, and we'll make sure we add those. 19, Lithonia, gave it a 5 and a 3. End zone view this week, meaning that they're dying for an end zone view. Sandy Creek, now that's a guy that I like. We went from a 4 to a 5. I'm off this week. So great job with that crew doing Sandy Creek and Fayette County. Wheeler gave a 3, an instant replay filmer with film from open window, assistance with our iPads, making sure it's working properly. A lot of times they'll give us iPads that do not work properly, and we'll go over that, how to actually help that. Last but not least, 22 was, they looked like he graded it again and went in there twice, which is fine. There are some schools that didn't respond. Can't help them if they don't respond. I left it out there for us to get some information. So if they were one of your teams, you can at least get that. I'm probably going to ask that each week because it gives me an idea of where we're at and what we're dealing with in this perspective. Some coaches were frustrated with me as a owner because they decided to call and tell me what they wanted instead of putting it in an email or a text or a Google form so I can actually process it and have an idea, but they didn't do that. So come Friday night, if they told me they wanted something 2 weeks ago, it wasn't clicking in my brain because they didn't help that process. Biggest thing, we're going to go because we had some 5s and 4s. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Fayette County's film so we can talk a little bit about that real quick. And then we're going to look at Elka's film as well. And kind of look at, and even to the point of probably Holy Innocents' film, so we can have an idea of both. If you ever want to talk individually about your film, I can give you username and logins, and we can go about taking time to do that. Let me pull up Fayette County since I'm blind and my brain's not processing. Here we go, Fayette County. I'm going to take my wonderful mug off so you don't have to see me. And we're going to bring up the Fayette County Sandy Creek. It's 3 angles, and we're going to edit it, and we're going to take a look at it overall wise to see how they all kind of match up. Once again, this is the best way to look at it, and to be able to look and understand a couple things very quickly is that the sun was bad. It was very hot outside. Overheating was going to occur. We're going to work on some solutions for Friday, even though I looked at the weather and it's 65 to 70% chance of rain. So I'll curl up in a nice little ball and suck my thumb for a little bit and work past it and grow up and get that idea. But this is a great example. We had Kenneth and Butch on the tight and wide. Tight and wide with Kenneth. Kenneth's wide is really good. It shows all 22 players. Gives a little bit of space back here so you can see those spaces. And that's good. As you can see my mouse, if you can't, I apologize, but there's a little bit of space back here. You're seeing the whole tight picture right here, which is nice to be able to look at. And our end zone is tackle to tackle. Let's watch Butch's tackle to tackle first play and see how he adapts. Hopefully they do a straight dive, everything looks good, and you kind of stay put as much as you can. You don't try to, you can widen out as you go, but you don't do too much movement in the first place, especially if they're not running out of the picture. Those are things to think about when you're going to film. If you can kind of sit still, that's sometimes the best type of filming there is. Right here, another offensive play. We're going to let it play through. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about and kind of draw some things out and let you look at some things overall wise before we go into the next play. It's a great tight and wide, and looking at it, this is a punt. Now, a punt's very confusing during scrimmages because they don't do live, and it's a lot of craziness to kind of keep in mind. And because they don't do live in that situation, you got to keep in mind that you have to act like there are a bunch of players here on the line. In your end zone, you're showing all 22 players. In the tight, you're just really showing 15 yards this way because that's how deep the punter is, and 15 yards this way. With the wide copy, it's 15 and 30 when it comes to special teams. Going back on defense, we have adjusted our angles, and now suddenly we're going the other way. Now, the one thing I like about what Butch did here is Butch went ahead of the end zone person, went ahead and just started hitting record and made sure he wasn't missing the play. The one thing we don't want to do, and we're going to see that a little bit, is get jumped before the play starts. We need to make sure that we're set, ready to go to be able to do that part. It's very important to kind of keep that in mind. Kenneth did a great job of following the ball and making sure he didn't get ahead of the curve. So that's really good in that direction. So I appreciate, once again, everybody tuning in and looking at that in that perspective. One thing that a lot of people did not do is this. We need to go to the scoreboard, please. Cannot amplify that enough. After they score a touchdown, they scored the touchdown on this play, they kicked the extra point, then go to the scoreboard. The tight, the wide, the tight, and the end zone if plausible. If the end zone is not in front of the scoreboard, go to the sky. It's quite all right to go to the sky. But it's very good to be able to do that. It's a good marker, as you can see, trying to match up these particular plays. Then here's the kickoff again. Now I'm going to show you some live kickoffs. We don't want to follow the ball. We want to follow the people running down the field. And Kenneth did a good job of following the people down the field, which was great in that sense. We don't want to follow the ball. Like, for example, when the kicker kicks it, don't throw your camera all the way down the field. That does us no good. They're going to want to watch the players run in the lanes. Let's see, we get another punt here. Good example of that punt. Once again, please understand, end zone filmers did a great job setting up on the hash right here, setting up on the hash and getting started in that direction. I'm going to cancel out here, and we're going to go look at another game real quick. Now, we had a lot of technical issues, communication, different things. You all did your best to kind of call me and say, hey, Bo, this is happening here. Is there any suggestions or solutions in this direction? And y'all did a great job of trying to figure that part out. What we ran into was when you did not call and say, hey, I have an issue, what do we need to do? And a lot of times I'll try to give a troubleshoot. We can never assume that the coaches are going to be able to figure certain things out. Most of the time, the answer is no, they're not going to figure it out. Right here's a scrimmage. This is Spalding. Devontae was able to film this particular game. Once again, he is testing his equipment. That is a good thing. He tested it with his wide and his tight. Make sure that you test your equipment. Your first thing should not be the kickoff. And now we have all the players in mind. This is the wide copy. This is great because there's one line, two lines, three lines. Everybody gets a line. Okay, that's the wide copy. Okay, so make sure we understand that that's the wide copy. The next one over is the tight. Devontae acts like he's been doing this for a while. Just shows two lines. Now let's see if he wins chicken dinner here. Does he follow the players running down? Now, my luck, the players aren't going to run down on this, and it's going to mess everything up. But let's see anyways. And away we go with the kick. The goal is to follow the kick. and staying in the lane. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Great job, Devontae. Keep that in mind. Here we go. This is the wide copy. We're at an angle. This is the deepest man right here. We got some space here. There are some coaches that don't like that much space. However, if the DBs back out, they're going to miss it. So even though somebody might not like to have this much space here, I'm okay with it. Okay? The catch is when you watch the play, make sure that you don't jerk the camera and go back this way with the camera. Right when the play starts, just sit tight. Quarterback's going to rush. He's going to throw. Now, that's a great job with the wide. Now, the tight is just that. For everybody understanding, this is the tight. This is all we care about. We care about the down linemen, the offensive linemen, the linebackers, and we give a little bit of space so we can see things from a coach's perspective. Now, the problem is the moment the coach or the quarterback gets the ball and it looks like he's going to throw, you have to widen out. Now, Devontae didn't widen out, but it's good to widen out because you want to see what the quarterback is seeing, because if he throws it deep and you have not widened out quick enough, you're going to zip the camera. In this situation, he held firm and he widened out as soon as he released the ball. So that is A-okay to be able to look at that. Another play. Now the wide, it's changing up the angles. He's trying to adjust. He's doing a good job of moving the cameras. Once again, centering your tight and adjusting your wide is very important to do. Now, here's a great life lesson here. This is Wheeler High School. This was horrendous, and Tiffany could not do anything about it. The reason for that is it was glass, and the glare was coming through. They fixed it. They're going to open up a window for us and allow us to shoot through the window. There is an alternative that we're going to work on in this situation. That situation is going to be putting a big black sheet behind us over our backs to be able to block out the light. But it's just one of those things that actually occur, and there's not much we can do about it. Here at McNair Fellowship Christian, not a very high stadium. Darnell, aka DJ, was able to test his equipment, but the bad part is the tent is sitting in the way. It's hilarious. We're not even that high and we can't get past the tent, so it's just part of life in that situation. But he was able to test the equipment and see what it was offering. So here's the kickoff. Now in this situation, if I'm not mistaken, yep, this is the tight, or this is the wide. Now with this in mind, he needs to be right here, meaning DJ, you need to be right here going this way. All this extra space, they're not paying for. Please, everybody, take notice to that. It's very important to take notice to that. 8:23 on the clock. We're doing a great job. And that situation, so not bad. Next one over is that he's too tight. Let's see if he widens out, so I'm not talking. Nope, he's not. And he did the faux pas of all faux pas. We've got to get two lines. There's a line missing here. And when they kick the ball, they didn't run, so it's hard to say, but you have to learn to move slowly down the line. I know that they didn't move, so it's not live special teams, but guess what's going to be live special teams on Friday? Everybody is. So you just kind of keep that in mind. It's going to be live special teams on Friday. So here with the wide, from one thing in particular, we're too wide. Okay, we want to only show this. We are too wide in this situation for McNair. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. DJ, zoom in. Cut your angles a little bit. You're too far. When we can see all the trees, Bob Ross would be happy, but we would not. Okay, and especially coach's perspective. Your tight is good. However, the ball probably would be good to be right here. Okay, so centering your tight and then adjusting your wide would help the situation. But overall wise, not much to complain in the sense that overall wise it was too far to be able to look at, and that's something that we'll make sure we adjust before next week. Next up on the plate here, we will go to South Atlanta, a newbie of newbies, person never had an opportunity. This is, if I'm not mistaken, Amir. His first opportunity. If it wasn't Amir, it was Sean. And I'm just trying to remember names at this point. I apologize if I messed that up. But he's testing his camera. He's on top of the Hampton Middle School. He got there in plenty of time. The bad part is, if you get there this far ahead of time, you better hide your iPads because the sun is hot. So make sure that you adjust to it. If not, they will overheat and you will call and say, hey, it's overheated. And I will be like, all right, no problem. So make sure that we adjust to it, please. Because overheating iPads, and this what happened at South Atlanta, so the head coach is calling me going, hey, we don't have any receptions. I don't want to deal with that on a Friday because we overheated it. So kind of keep that in mind. So, first one up to bat, this is a good faux pas. You've been sitting here for 25 minutes, but you forgot to hit record. Why? Because the iPad suddenly overheated and you went, what do I do? So they got caught in action and we didn't even get to see the play take place. First messed up. Not good. Not good to start off on it. With the tight, we even missed it and we didn't even follow the runners because everything is blowing up in front of us. And that's okay because whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger in this matter. Alright, so this is the wide. Now the first thing that anybody can see is that we have too much green back here. That means we are not taking our camera and adjusting it. And I know this is the first play, so I'm not necessarily picking, but I am looking at it and saying, hey, let's be aware of it. And then our tight looks good. But we go back to our wide, we're still not adjusting to our angles. Okay, you have to physically move the camera. If we don't physically move the camera, we're all in trouble in that situation. Now you're getting a little bit tighter, getting a little bit creeping up there. So getting a little nervous in that matter. Now, next up to plate, let's go to Lithonia, and we're going to take a real quick look at that because it's a different style of field, and I want you to have a chance to look at that real quick. And then we're going to go to Holy Innocents and look at dual end zones because I want everybody to take a look at that. And then, of course, if you ever have any questions, feel free to put it up on the wall. But I really wanted to have an opportunity to share with you things that I saw Friday night to Saturday morning and things that we're going to address and deal with very quick and to the point and making sure that we deal with it. So, Burkmark here. Now, Robert, I'm not picking, so please understand that. First game Robert films. They are famous for putting people on different press boxes, but you did a good job. They don't have a live kickoff, but keep this in mind. Always think that they have a live kickoff. Imagine that there's a line here and a line here. Don't just think, okay, there's not. So make sure that you keep that in mind in this degree. Now this is your wide. Your wide looks really good. Okay, could we have a little bit? No, I'm fine. I can live with this. Let's watch the play go through. Everything to me looks copacetic and clean. Now your tight gets a little bit tight and you can see the ESPN and Robert kind of coming out a little bit. One thing to imagine, that ball probably should be a little bit right here, the center point, but let's watch the play go through. Good job, Robert, on that play. The one thing that you could all see real quick is don't move the camera backwards. See how the camera went back just a little bit right there? As long as they don't go out of your picture, our picture is here. We want to make sure that this running back right here always stays, once they pass the line of scrimmage, stays center of the camera. Okay? We want to make sure that they don't run out of it and that they stay in the center of the camera. Now, for some reason, Robert started getting real tight because they suddenly didn't have any receivers. Keep the rules. Get yourself back about 8. Get a little bit further back here. Okay? Right now, you're in there tight because They don't have any linebackers. So you're like, okay, how far do I go? And that's something to think about when you're setting up. But give yourself a little bit of room, and now you're cutting him off, and now suddenly you don't have any space behind that linebacker, and you have that, and your first movement is back. When they pass the ball, you have to widen out. You've got to see what they're seeing. It's very important to get that idea of what they're seeing. So when they throw it, you don't do that. Did you see it? It was kind of like, hey, I wonder where it went. So you want to make sure that you have an idea where that ball is going. And the only way to do that is to widen out, because when he chunks it, you're trying to find out where that ball is. And you want to be there at the point of contact where the ball, the receiver, and the DB meet up. Okay? Now this one's a little scary. Let's see if he adjusts. This is his tight for his punt. He does not adjust. Okay, so good faux pas here. It's a famous word of the day. When you're on a punt team, we've got to go 15 yards back and 15 yards forward for our tight. With our wide, we can go a little bit further. This is right here the wide. It is not the tight. So we know we're going to be in trouble right here. If we did this in a regular game and never showed the punter, we in trouble. We are in trouble. So we need to make sure that that's the case and that we adjust. So we don't want, I know that you went back when he hiked the ball, but we don't want to give that back and forth action. We can get all of this in one picture. Moving that camera back like that's going to be rough. And now he started realizing, oh my goodness, it's a punt. So we want to make sure, and then we're flowing with the players down the field. So kind of keep that overall in your brain. So, going to go down to Holy Innocents. And we're going to take a look at them because it was a dual setup. Meaning that they had two end zone cameras connected. We're going to edit the video so we can see all four angles pop up. It is very important, if you can, to always get the run through for all our teams. It gives you a chance once again after you do the coin toss to get it. But wiggle your camera, get around, make sure that you're comfortable with everything. The fun part is trying to match up these cameras. For example, with one of our end zone cameras, this was the score. Now, if we were to look at this and start picking at it, I'm not going to go picking at the end zone. What we have to be concerned about is that this end zone camera missed the extra point. Now, as you can see, right here and right here, there's three different angles. We have an angle here. We have an angle here that just shows these 22 players. And then we have the big one that can see the ball going through the upright. I love this shot here, especially if we can raise it up and get that part. If the camera person that's sitting right here just wants to film this right here, hey, rock and roll. If you want to lean it forward and get that, I know you can't get everything, but if you miss the play, that means I've got to go back and connect 4 clips, and I've got to skip one of them. So we don't necessarily want to do that. Now this right here stresses me out. We came out of a kickoff. You need to get yourself ready. Okay? This zoom in stuff right there ain't going to work for me. We've got to get ourselves ready to go, and not going to miss the play. We don't want to get jumped. We want to make sure we stay ahead of the play every time. It's very important that we stay ahead of the play, and the play, we don't miss a play because the play's in action. That we're able to actually get everything that we're looking for. And as I scan down, I'm able to see, hey, did we miss something? Because sometimes a play's very short and we wonder, hey, what actually happened? Now in this situation, everybody looks like they did a good job of not getting jumped. Maybe this 12 seconds is going to be close. Nope, everything's good. As you can see, they have 22 in the box right here, so you don't really have to go too wide because you're getting all 22 players in there. If you don't know football terminology, that's okay. I can work with you on that. I have no problem whatsoever working around that. What I don't want to see happen is us getting jumped play by play. So It's one of those things that we've got to make sure that we address, and that we start the play well ahead of time, so that the play is not in action when we hit record. That's you moving and making sure things occur properly. Um, Let me think one more thing that we can look at. Get in a chance, I'll bring up one more before we get out of here. I've done a great job. It's 8:35. I got too much stuff to do as it is. One thing, this is a horrible, but yet we need to learn this and know this information. We had an issue with one of our cameras, okay, meaning that we improperly, the camera did not work, the wide camera did not work properly. Now when that happens, what we have to do is adapt. It's kind of like flying in a plane. If one engine goes down, you have to adjust to both engines. Okay, this is the wide. Okay, right now we have 149 clips. I understand what happened to the other engine slash camera, but we have to address. Now I'm despising this environment here, okay, because it's Lithia Springs and that's what we have to deal with based on the blockage. But for example, if we don't have both cameras working properly, you have to give me a wide shot, and then you can zoom in as the play develops. You cannot give me just a simple tight. If you do, and that then the wide becomes the instant replay, you better remember your bag number to make sure that we get the things that we need to get. So that's important to kind of keep that in your mind, because then the coach can't see anything with the receivers and the DBs. So we got to widen out so we can see everything. For example, here we finally got the camera fixed at halftime, and now we're able to give them a wide. But we couldn't do it for the first 2 quarters because I messed up. I didn't put a little rubber oval into the bag, and the camera was loose, so it wasn't possible. But in the second half, it worked. Just part of life, part of things that we're learning from a scrimmage perspective. So I appreciate you having patience with me on that. But you have to, if something is out of the ordinary, you need to call. Don't text me. Go ahead and call if it's out of the ordinary. I'll pick it up, or I'll see that you called and I'll call you back, because I'm dealing with other fires in other locations. So kind of something to think about overall wise when we're looking at things. Overall, was very happy with everything that we did, and I appreciate definitely everybody's effort across the board. We did what we could in the situation that we have. It's only going to get more intense. I can never have enough players involved from a team perspective. If you have people, let me know. We're constantly checking the equipment. Today, we had to go to Mercedes-Benz and test equipment. And we have people here at the office testing, making sure things work properly to get ourselves ready for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I have some Thursday games. I have some Friday. I have a lot of Friday games. I have 33 Friday games. I'm going to be sending those invites out tonight because of your availability. If you haven't filled out your availability form, thanks for not firing me after the first day, Norman. I wouldn't fire anybody. The only time I don't fire, the only time I don't call you back is if you don't show up. That would be about it. I appreciate everybody's effort. This is kind of an all persons on deck, and we're going to have fun with it, and we're going to learn. And as I sent an email to the coaches last night, there's a word called mea culpa. I was asking somewhat for forgiveness, but also understanding that it's a scrimmage. And I simply said, a sign of a good team is what we do from week 1 to week 2. Well, week 1 was Friday night. Now we're heading into week 2. Week 2, we have a lot of stuff going on. We have games on Thursday, a lot of games on Friday, and we have games on Saturday for varsity. We have some middle school games tomorrow and on Wednesday, and some things on Saturday itself. So we're tightening things up as quickly as possible. Not a lot of sleep on my end because we need to get ready for the season at hand. If you're interested in broadcasting with me, and you're interested in doing the technical piece, we'll take you more than welcome to come in on Saturday evening when I'm doing a broadcast here from the office. And you can look to see what we do, and I can talk to you about, hey, we're doing this and this, so you can have an idea, especially on Saturday, because it's not a Friday, to be able to get things going. Probably not going to stream anything tomorrow night on Tuesday night, mainly because I kind of want to make sure I'm putting the horses first and then the cart, and not the cart then the horse. Keep that in mind. But I appreciate everybody's effort. The key thing that everybody was asking me about is about pay. If you live in the area, come get your paycheck. I will be at home tomorrow evening. I'd love to write you a check. If you are not in the area, then send me a text and say, hey, I haven't been paid. I'll go on the payment form. I'll tell you to send me your Cash App, and we'll get you paid and get you taken care of and get everybody caught up before season 2 starts. To our season 2, week 2. You didn't know there were 17 seasons in a football year, but it's just one of those ones to do. On Wednesday, we are going to have another one of these YouTubes. All going to be about communication and setting up equipment properly and how to handle our instant replay. People have brought great ideas to me and saying we need to do this to this, and we're going to make those adjustments. I'm trying to help these coaches understand some things and how to handle instant replay, because it's technology and sometimes it slows down. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, give me a call, talk to me, do whatever you need to in this situation. Tomorrow, I'm going to be putting helmet decals on most of the morning in different locations, traveling to some schools. Feel free to call, leave me a text. I will not be in the office in the morning. I'll have my supervisors in there working on equipment, getting things ready for Friday and Thursday and Saturday, because that's what's important in that direction. Thank you again. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. We've got to get more people. I'm going to put more ads out. Please don't apply if you're already working with me. I'm going to put more ads out trying to find some folks. Figured out a new way to train people. I'm going to be bringing people in and asking them to come in on Wednesday, if they're available Wednesday evening, and we're going to do some training from the office. Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it, to be honest with you. Kind of got a new idea to be able to train with your equipment and get caught up for those people that are interested in that. Thanks again. Be safe. It's 8:42. I do want to cut off. We will be back live on Wednesday at 8 o'clock to talk about communication. But tonight, the biggest thing I wanted to talk about was your film. If you want to talk about your individual film, feel free to, but most importantly, understand that I'll get to you if I see an issue with your film. A lot of times, the old saying, if you don't hear from me, that means we're doing okay. We're not getting yelled at. If a coach gave you a 1 on your instant replay or your end zone, that means we need to work, and we are going to get working on that. So kind of keep that in mind as well. Take care. Be safe. Look forward to talking with you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.